And welcome back to another author interview at Crystal Lake. And today our guest is Jamal Hodge, and we're here to discuss his book, The Dark Between the Twilight. Now I'm going to turn it over to him and let him introduce himself. So take it away.
Hi guys, good to be here. Shout out to Crystal Lake for all their support. Love those guys. My name is Jamal Hodge. I'm a filmmaker. I am a New Yorker. I am a writer, a poet, and just I like to think of myself as a human being that's trying to find all the pieces that were lost of themselves through art. So every time I create something, I think I become more of myself and who I was meant to be. And then the beauty of that is I can share it with others and sometimes get paid, sometimes not.
Yeah, that's the life of a writer. Sometimes we get paid and sometimes we don't.
So
Okay.
yeah, you know.
So give everyone a quick overview of your new book, The Dark Between the Twilight.
Well, for me, so The Dark Between the Twilight is a book that encompasses my shift from darkness into light. I had a pretty dark childhood. I've been homeless as a child. I've experienced abuse. I've a lot of people have from the places that I come from. Repression, oppression, anger, hatred of myself, hatred of others. And I went to like about 3 or 4 transitions to get to the point now where I use my pain in service of others. So I tell somebody told me one time that the why pain hurts so much and the past hurt so much when we were victimized is because it seems meaningless. It seems nonsensical. So to get past it, it's up to us to make sense of it. And the way you make sense of it is by making it useful to somebody else. And the way you do that is to be in service to others with your hurts, because the things that are most personal are the most universal. So you'd be surprised by when you mention what happened to you or what happened to the people or how you were neglected or abused, how many people have experienced the same sort of loss and pain, but they never had a platform to talk about it. They never had anybody to talk to with it. So, healing is transformation is done through groups, it's done through empathy, through sharing. So I think it's very, very important that when to redeem our hurts and to make it make sense, we use it in service of others.
Okay, so yeah, you touched a little bit on this already but what were your inspirations for writing the book, especially other than in your personal experience?
Well, definitely, I have to give shout out to my mentor, Linda Addison, Grandmaster Linda Addison, who I got a lot of love and respect for, because seeing her method and seeing and being under her tutelage, it definitely gave me the confidence to even approach poetry. Because normally I was just writing science fiction or, just novel fiction versions of things, screenplays. But I see the thing I love about poetry is that you can convey the soul or the spirit of a thing through language in a short and concise way. So rather than have to read 200 pages to explain something, rather than even explaining something, I can make you feel what I feel. And I think sometimes that's more important than trying to beat people in the head with your own version of what things mean. Just let them feel what you feel and let them come to their own conclusions.
Yeah, that's an excellent explanation of poetry because it is, in a lot of ways, a very personal thing, isn't it?
Yes, yes, and it's kind of like it's a way of kind of really it's a great vehicle. It's gonna sound weird for me as a martial artist and a hardcore man that did war journalism and was in the hood and all these things, but like I think it's a great medium poetry for vulnerability. I think it's a great medium to convey empathy, humanity, and vulnerability. So a lot of things that's really hard to express, especially as a man, through the written page, I'm able to really explore those feelings and those hurts and convey those to whoever's willing to read the damn thing.
Yeah, so, I mean, the book combines poems and a memoir, style as well, so how
Yes.
did you mesh those styles together? Did they flow in a natural rhythm, or did you work on them, like, each one of them kind of on separately and then sort of put them together?
I mean, like all like most things that are truly from the heart, it's an unfoldment more than a plan. So within the work of it, it starts to reveal what it wants to be. At least in my process, that's how it works. And this book was something that I was writing during the pandemic. You know, I had gotten really sick. People that I know were dying or getting really sick, or just dealing with a lot of death and a lot of uncertainty. So I was thinking, if I wanted to, if I died, what's the message that I wanted to get out to people? What's a message that I would want to leave behind? And this book kind of started manifesting and coming into being. And the memoir parts of it was because I was hiding in the first section in the darkness. It's a lot of speculative poems. It gets because the book is split into three different sections: night, twilight, and dawn. And in night, it's a lot of some of it's more fun, more fantasy, more speculative, horror, stuff like that. Has themes, but it's not personal. The second section, twilight, it's more of a memoir about my own shortcomings as a human being, my own struggles, and I feel like it's very empathetic. I think a lot of people will share in those pains because we're all more the same than different. And then dawn is more about hard truths that actually, because the one thing truth is supposed to do is set you free, right? That's the thing about truth. It might hurt, but truth sets you free. So dawn is ultimately about setting your real self free, setting your authentic self free. So that's how I did it. That's how I ended up being structured. There was no plan for that. It just kind of came with the writing and the times, the situation.
Oh, that's interesting. It sounds like a nice, format too, because it's almost kind of like a metaphor for growing up too. Because
Yes.
yeah. So what was your emotional journey when you wrote the book? I mean, how personal did it get, and was there anything that you considered putting in but you left out?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of things left out. I mean, how can you sum up a life in one book or emotions in one? It's impossible. There's no book big enough to even accomplish one human life, you know? But so I left out some things, but I tried to spirit of things, like I was saying earlier, the feeling of things intact and whole. I'm a very extreme person. Like by nature, that's my nature. I'm an extremist. I take things very far. So with this book, um there's a lot of extreme perspectives in terms of me just being brutally honest with how I felt in those moments or whatever. So, some things are uncomfortable, but I think it's important for people to be uncomfortable.
Mm.
And because comfort is what makes us kind of decay in a lot of ways, psychologically, emotionally, even empathically. Like if you're too comfortable, you can become very cruel. So I definitely want to rattle people a little bit to let them see that humanity is messy, emotions are messy, and it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be human. It's okay. We didn't just come here to be happy. We came here for a full human experience, and that's what the book tries to convey is a full human experience.
So, do you have a favorite poem in the collection or a poem you're most proud of?
Hmm.
I know this is a hard question for most writers.
Yeah, I mean, not really, to be honest. No, I mean, but there's some that stand out to me. There's one I like. When I did a movie, called Alone, it was very hard for me to write, so I was proud that I was able to write that. One. Um, there's another one called Tomorrow I'll Be Five, based on a famous photo with the vulture and the little girl in Africa. The photographer, I heard, he went the downward spiral and eventually took his own life after he won the Pulitzer for taking that photo. And I wanted to write that because there's so much suffering in this world, and we forget we forget so much that when we see it in our everyday lives, we get shocked. And it's like, how can you be shocked knowing the things that you know if you're not living in a delusion, in a mass delusion? If you don't want to fall back into a mass delusion, how can you be shocked by these things when these things are happening all the time? So you know, I really like that one. I like the opening poem to the book, which is about Earth and my suspicion that Earth is a giant stomach. That's my worst fear in the world, was that realization that the world is really just a giant stomach that digests itself, and it just keeps on making new forms, and the mass of it never changes. And it's weird. It's just a horrifying thought that I had. But yeah, I don't really have a favorite one holistically. My favorite section in the book is probably the second section of the book, the Twilight section, because it's the most personal for me.
Okay, so did any of the poems give you trouble, need to be rewritten?
Yeah, almost all of them. Yeah, everything. Almost all of them. Yeah. Yeah. To be a writer is to live in trouble. Trouble is our oxygen. We suffer all the time. Like, you know this. It's beautiful and it's painful. And I mean, which one did I write? Dawn was hard for me to write that section. I did a lot of rewrites and threw out a lot of poems and brought a lot of poems in because I think honestly, most of my life I've lived in the negative. So for me, being positive and living in truth, um, or trying to live in the full expression of my humanity has only happened probably in the last 7 years or so, maybe 8 years. If I'm being kind to myself. But so I've had an entire life of more like darkness, you know. So it's like that section really connecting to that and trying to make sense of that. Those poems took the most out of me, so to speak.
Mm. Yeah, it can be easier to write about pain and darkness than it is about the more positive aspects. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
see that.
yeah.
So, what interests you about writing poetry and speculative poetry in particular?
Absolutely nothing until I met Linda Addison. But to be honest, and then you know, the power of her work. And then I discovered so many other people like Christina Song and um, Lee Murray and all these, you know, Kua Leslie Hope, all these great poets, mostly women, actually. You know, there's a lot of great women poets. You know, there's
Mm,
some men, but not too many. And in occupying like the horror or speculative poetry space, there's not too many black men, although there are, you know, Donald is bringing a lot of people to the forefront from Africa and all these different places. So there's more voices now. But you know, I just think I love the what you can do, like I was saying earlier, as a vehicle to convey emotion with poetry. I love it, and and sometimes I'm a person that has too many ideas, um, and there's not enough time in a life to extend all those ideas out into books or longer form or short stories. So poetry allows me to convey the essence and the scope of those ideas in a confined and quick and precise manner. So that's what I like about it.
mm. Yeah, me too. So, what do you enjoy most about writing poetry?
Um, just that, like, you know, the its ability to do as much as an entire book in a page, you know, or even less than a page. I like the fact that poetry has so many forms. I like that. I like the fact that it's both chaos and order in combination. It's both visual and feeling, like the way you organize the words on the page matter to the feel or the full experience of the poem. Um, I like the fact that it's almost like a forgotten art form in a sense for to mainstream society. So, but it's something that was so prominent for most of human,
Yeah.
society. Like so.
Yeah, if you go back and research some of the history of poets, it's interesting how the viewpoint of poetry has changed over the years.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, do you do mostly free verse or have you tried form poetry?
well, I just did this whole thing. Crystal Lake has gotten me into form poetry. Actually, I taught a class I think last year. And that really like obviously like I like Fibonacci. I like I'm really scared of what's that Shakespearean kind of form.
Sonnets?
Yes.
Oh, I hate sonnets too, so I'm with you there.
Like sonnets are brutal.
Yeah, it's the
I'm
meter.
done
Just
can't do 'em.
meter. I cannot stand meter for
Yeah,
writing it. Yeah, it's
yeah,
just
it's
like
so
no,
hard.
no.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
And then there's also like I'm embarrassed myself right now, but like haiku
Mm.
I love haiku. Now, like that's probably my favorite form outside of free verse.
Yeah, I've actually done 2 books of haiku, horror haiku, which was really
Oh,
fun.
nice.
Yeah, there used to be a hashtag over on Twitter, horror haiku.
Hmm.
So we used to do that, like, a bunch of us used to get to do that every week. We'd make little
Oh,
horror haikus, and I put them all together in 2 collections, so
that's dope.
yeah. So, what's the hardest part of writing poetry for you?
Being vulnerable to that degree, like and also wondering about how I'm gonna get paid for this. Those are the two hardest parts with, with writing poetry.
Yeah, I can relate to that, definitely.
Like, what am I doing? I'm spending so much time and pain on this thing. How am I make some money off this damn thing? So, yeah, but it is what it is.
Mm. So, who are your favorite poets or poetry inspirations? And I'm pretty sure you're gonna say Linda Addison on this one, but, yeah.
Obviously. So, Linda, of course, Linda. I'm her psychophant. Her, I'm her Darth Vader to her Palpatine. So Linda, I would say a lot of the women I mentioned earlier, Christina. So I like Sarah Tatzlinger a lot too. Like Cradle Land of Parasites. That book was crazy to me. I love that book. I really like. I mean, there's so many. There's so many phenomenal poets that really I like Michael Bailey a lot too. I like his uniqueness and what he brings. Um, and so many people that I feel like their work is Natasha Trethewey is really good too. I think she won a Pulitzer Prize for her writing. Her poetry is amazing. Yeah. A lot of my favorite poets are women, actually, to be
Mhm.
honest.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of women poets out there, especially in the sphere.
Yeah. Mary Soon Lee is really amazing. Her poem, everything I've ever read from her has been incredible. Like so I mean, Lee Murray's phenomenal. I mean, like Akua, Leslie Hope is phenomenal. Um, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of great ones.
Okay, so how do you think you've improved as a poet from when you first started to now?
Well, I mean, my original poems kind of went like the cat in the hat with the bat sat on a no. but I've got a lot better since then. I've got a lot better since then. I think everybody. Okay, so I think everybody has a voice. You don't know your voice. Your voice is revealed to you, and other people can see it before you can. It's dangerous to the risk of knowing your voice or how you do things is that eventually what can happen is that you could become a caricature or imitation of yourself, which is happens to a lot of artists when they get older and they've been successful for a long time. They become like they're almost doing like fan fiction of themselves. It's like weird, right? So that's a problem because you start being different. You try to be like, oh, people like this about me, so I'm gonna double down on it. All that being said, the positive thing of it and what's helped me is realizing what I excel at. I excel because I'm a filmmaker. I excel at um, suspense and surprise, rhythm, and building towards a conclusion that's counter to what to your expectations. So a lot of my poems are like mini films in that way. Um, a lot of times there'll be a mixture of the things that make me me, which is like harsh darkness. You almost might even say cynicism, mixed with humor and hope. So that's why I feel like I'm good at as a poet. That's what makes me good.
Okay, so what do you like to do when you're not writing? Do you have any hobbies or hidden talents?
Well, I used to like to work out before I got fat in the pandemic. But I've been getting back to that. I've been losing weight. You know, see how this shirt's getting loose. But I've been training again. I like martial arts, combat training. I like um I like a lot of my toxic masculinity traits. I don't know. I like shooting guns. I like traveling. I like adventure. But really, what I really like, I like teaching. I like teaching the you. It's annoying because these young kids are annoying as hell, but I do have a soft spot for them. I do like being an educator to young people. I do like filmmaking. Obviously, I'm a director. I love directing. I do love making people better, like growing things. I definitely like to grow things and to protect things and to create environments for people and things to be their best or to heal or to focus or to get stronger. I do believe in courage. I think courage is the missing ingredient to all goodness. Like I think as artists, our job is to make people remind people how to be brave. And when people are brave, they usually make the right choice. So I think most bad choices come from fear. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I like to teach people how to be brave.
Mm, I like that. So, tell us about some of the other books you've written.
Well, can I tell you about some of the books that are in Crystal Lake that I didn't write a damn thing? Well, actually, I wrote some stories in it, but I'm more of an editor. So I've edited this book called The Bestiary of Blood: Modern Fables and Dark Tales, and it's kind of like Aesop's Fables meets Silence of the Lambs with a touch of the Twilight Zone. And it's coming out October 4th from Crystal Lake Publishing, and it has like 16 Bram Stoker Award winners, like 3 Lifetime Achievement recipients, 2 Grandmasters from the SFPA, all these amazing writers, Tim Wagner, Mark Simon, Lisa Morton, Linda Addison, of course, Alessandro Manzetti, just all these, like, Stephen Barnes did something for it. You know how hard it is to get him to do one of these joints. We have such a great lineup. I'm super excited about this book. I'm excited that these people gave a a newbie like me a chance to that degree. Shout out to Max Gold as well. Our CEO um, of the HWA. He wrote some great stuff in it too. Um, just Angela Hugo Smith is in it. I mean, the
Yeah.
list just goes on and on and on and on. You know, Lee Murray, Genevieve Flynn, like the who's who of the horror
Yeah.
world, more or less, is in this book. So I'm super excited about it. Then I also have a book with Linda coming out next year called Everything Endless. And then I'm working on another one called it doesn't have a publisher yet, Joe. No, it doesn't have a publisher. It doesn't have a publisher yet, but it's called I'm Not a Good Person, I'm a New Yorker. And so
Oh,
like
that's a great title. I'm just saying.
you know and it's a crazy book about New York. It combines some speculative things and some fairy tale things in there too, which is with an urban twist. It's grimy, it's fun, it's like an urban mixtape almost. It reads like your favorite songs, like your favorite urban songs. It reads like, but it's an exploration of just love in New York, life in New York, um, what's actually good about New York, because that's hard to remember sometimes, and also like the hood, the hood, the dark side of New York. So it's I'm looking for somebody for that, and then I'm working on one more, another anthology, which is also about New York, called Shards of Gotham.
Another good title. So I think we'll wrap the interview up there. And I'd like to thank you for being a guest today. Why don't you tell viewers where they can find you?
Well, you can find me on all your favorite platforms. I hate saying this stuff. It's so annoying. Um, Facebook is Jamal Hodge, like my name down there. It's actually here. Oh, there it goes. And then you have Instagram is Director H, no space. And then if you just want to see some of my writings and stay up to date with what I'm doing as a writer, it's Writer Hodge, HODGE.com. That's writerhodge.com.
Okay. And if you want to check out the book, The Dark Between the Twilight, you can find the link in the description below. And it sounds wonderful. So be sure to check it out. Okay. And that's it for this episode. And bye for now.
Thanks for having me.